All right, you all, Sharif right here with We Buy Black. This is New Africa August, and today is the 22nd day of New Africa August. We talked about what New Africa is. We understand that this is the physical manifestation of our collective desire, our collective urge to do for ourselves and position ourselves so that we may help do for the whole world. Throughout the whole month of New Africa August, we want to, we've brought on individuals, companies, entities, organizations to speak to their work. And this month is to highlight all of our initiatives that we're currently working on so that we can shape out our future. We have a month for our history, and we're very familiar with that month, Black History Month. And we love that month. We appreciate that month. But we have to create another month. And really until we working all throughout the year for our future and developments. So with that, today we have a very special guest. We have the founder and CEO of Glenrose Gardens. This is a 238 unit apartment complex in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm very familiar with the project. Ihsan Saleem reached out to me. We have Ihsan with us. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, man?
All right, all right. Ihsan reached out to me early on when they were just getting the project going there. And, you know, he brought me down to Glenrose Gardens, and I'm like, man, hold wait. Y'all got 231 units here, 238 units? He said, yeah, 238. And now I believe you all are full to capacity, right?
We are, yeah.
Full to capacity. They got a farm on the land, a beautiful garden out there. It is an amazing experience for anybody who's in Atlanta. I want you all to check out, look up Glenrose Gardens. We also have his colleague, Crystal. She's here with him. So why don't you all introduce yourselves? And I know you got a presentation that you want to roll out, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, Ihsan, I'll let you go first.
Okay, I'm Ihsan Saleem. Pretty much from Atlanta, went to Morehouse College, been an entrepreneur for a long time, and I'll get more into my story.
I'm Crystal. I'm the resident care manager here at Glenrose Gardens. So basically what I do is I handle all of the leasing, community building, and marketing. So lots of different things going on and flowing through Glenrose. And yep, that's me.
Excellent, awesome. Excellent. So you all have a presentation. What is this presentation about?
Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. All right.
All right, perfect. Let's do it.
So to open up, I'll give a little bit about just my story, my own entrepreneurial journey. Yeah. So I've been an entrepreneur for all my life. You know, started off, you know, lawn care, landscaping businesses, graphic design, T-shirts. And around the time I was 20, I got into real estate. And really got into real estate with my siblings, my brother primarily, and my sister as well. But really, we got into real estate with the vision of creating economic freedom for our family. So it's very much financially driven. We grew up on the lower end of the economic spectrum, and we're really, you know, aware of how you know, scarcity can constrain your choices, and we really wanted an abundance for ourselves. So kind of over a 12-year span, 2005 to 2017, through the Great Recession, you know, ups and downs, we acquired over 2,000 apartment units throughout Atlanta, several hundred homes, and, you know, really accomplished that goal of economic freedom, of financial security for ourselves, for our family. And really in 2017, when I was able to acquire Glenrose, was able to do so without having partners and without having the financial pressure that comes from partners and the constraining of vision as well that comes from partners sometimes, that they're just seeking to get a financial return. And so Glenrose is really an opportunity for me to really pursue another lifetime goal of mine, which is philanthropy, social service, and sort of the transforming of our communities, communities that I grew up in. So, you know, that really, segues into Glenrose. Glenrose is really an attempt to answer the question of what would a space that was that's created, to empower us, to nurture us, what would a space like that look like? How would people live there? I think we all know what spaces that are the opposite look like. Spaces that kind of pull us down: crime, drugs, poor schools, pathways to prison, spaces that don't have dignity. But Glenrose is really just exploring, what would the opposite look like. So we'll open with a video that kind of gives a glimpse into the life here.
Yeah. All right. All right.
All right. I recognize quite a few people from there.
Lots of cameos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that gives a great sense of the spirit that's in the community, though.
Hmm.
That was a fun project to do there. So this is a little bit more about the community, just an overview. We like to say that Glenrose was imagined in 1969, but it was reimagined in 2017.
Hmm.
And we're reimagining this existing space to pursue this mission of social justice and holistic well-being for our community. And we really are excited about that, the reimagining, because there are a lot of existing communities that that perhaps this could be a blueprint for, that,
Yeah.
it's a more accessible sort of transformation that can occur than just building something new, which may be cost prohibitive. So it's 20 acres, 238 townhomes. We like to say there are 2 other townhomes for our chickens, have a coop, and our goats.
Yeah.
So 240. And we acquired it in 2017. Yeah. Next
Nice.
slide. So just a glimpse of some of the features around the community, things that add to the community life. Again, we really try to approach it holistically, really thinking about the entire human being, and the different facets of the human being. So financial empowerment, health and wellness, and education are kind of the pillars for us. So we have several different spaces, but highlighted here is a soul space, which is a interfaith prayer meditative area. has a space to do art and a library as well. It's one of my favorite spaces in the community. We have down here a clubhouse where pre-COVID, a lot of this pre-COVID, would host community meetings, town halls. It's accessible for residents to come in and kind of use as a co-working space. Just a lot of impromptu gatherings. On the left there is these little libraries, which have become a popular thing around the country. And reading has just been something that's it's been transformational for my life. One of the most transformational things, one of the most impactful things. And heard a statistic that only a third of low-income households had access to books in the household. Sharif, I'm seeing you there with your library behind you. But it's just so impactful to be able to sit down and learn from the greats of history. So we sprinkled libraries throughout the community. Our crown jewel is certainly the farm, the garden. We've got an herb garden. It's right in front of our soul space. We've got a larger farm area where the chickens and the goats are. I'm always just amazed at how much produce, just a small space generates. Every Friday, we harvest and give the produce to the community. And we've got some wonderful nonprofit partners, Save Institute and Eman Atlanta as well, help us with the produce. Sunday dinner is.
Don't forget about, before you move on and say it, don't forget about our dog, Glenn. So he mentioned the chickens and the goats, but we also have a dog named Glenn. Our community doesn't quite allow pets just yet. So Glenn is everyone's pet. So.
Yes, he's big, fluffy, Great Pyrenees, beautiful, beautiful animal. You saw him in the video there. So as well, just highlighting these two other points here. The Sunday dinner, about 2 years ago, we started sponsoring a community dinner. We had staff set up, and we would buy the food and just kind of encourage people to come out, just to really foster relationships. And fast forward 2 years later, it's completely community and volunteer run. It's potluck, and it's certainly like something that I think a lot of people in the community look forward to. Some very delicious food. We have some great cooks in the community, and really a great place for people to showcase some of their skills.
Nice.
Youth programs. We worked with a lot of different organizations throughout Atlanta to provide workshops and classes to the youth in our community. Metro Chess would come out regularly pre-COVID and do chess training. We did technology, kids getting to learn about programming and virtual reality, science creations, science experiments, exciting science experiments, just different things. Every Friday, we would make sure that we had a really high quality organization to come and offer a class for the kids. So we look forward to getting back to that in a post-COVID world when that's appropriate. So the future. So we really, I guess, taking a step back, we really want to encourage the transformation of the broader neighborhood. We really adopted Glenrose Heights, which is a particular neighborhood in South Atlanta that we're located in as our community. And we really want to encourage people to come into Glenrose Heights and to collaborate and to invest. We think it's a great opportunity economically. We're acquiring properties adjacent to us, and are seeking to do all sorts of different expansions. A few things that I'm really excited about is something we hope to get done by the end of the year is a retail store, sort of Galleria concept, which we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the community that sell all sorts of things. Chris, if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a space for it here at Glenrose. We have, I've lost count on my fingers how many entrepreneurs here in the community. So just to kind of give you a little background, we have seamstress, we have cooks, we have people who paint, who sell handmade goods, hair, I would say products, lotions, different things like that. So the need is definitely there. So we want to kind of definitely create that space for them.
Wow.
Yeah. And we also have a vision of packaging some of the foods from our garden, and creating jams and packaging the eggs, And so having a space inside of the community that's a really beautiful, dignified retail center for all of that commerce to take place. That's something, again, we look forward to kind of getting done by the end of the year. We're in conversations with a local entrepreneur to bring a daycare facility to the school, to the campus of the community. Um, we actually just got our nonprofit arm fully set up, and we're really excited to do a community-based venture capital fund. We're going to be providing grants to community entrepreneurs to help them get that seed capital to get started. So all sorts of things. We got probably 50 pages, honestly, of initiatives that we expect to roll out over the future. The long-term vision for the community is, I don't think I mentioned this, but Glenrose was called Brandywine initially when it was built in 1969. And it was a cooperative, meaning that the members, the people, residents, actually own shares of a corporation that owned the property. It fell on hard times. It was in bankruptcy, and the board actually reached out to us to acquire the property. And that's how we got involved. And I've worked really collaboratively with the board, with the former board ever since, and some of them serve on our community council. But we really have a vision, hope, a dream to be able to democratize the ownership again, and to be able to create, if it's a co-op structure or just individual townhomes, to be able to create a home ownership opportunity for the people of the community, to be able to, to be a part of that the economic journey. So that's the sort of end goal, maybe over 5, hopefully no more than 10 years. But all the while we'll be investing in the community, in the neighborhood.
Excellent. What you got to say, Chris? I see you. See the energy rolling.
Because I'm just like, even just watching the video, it's got me a little bit emotional over here. I love Glenrose. Like, it is a dream neighborhood. I had never, seen anything like it before,
Wow.
Applying to work here. And I haven't really yet seen anything like Glenrose. So when I talk to my friends and things like that and share it with my colleagues, it's just, I can never say enough about it. That's how beautiful it is. And when you see the photos and the videos, it really doesn't do it any justice until you actually get out here and you hear like the birds chirping, you see all of the green space, and you're like, is this heaven? Like, what is this? So that's a great place. I love it.
Yeah, I know a few residents there, and I asked them of their experience, like how is it? And one of them recently said, man, honestly, I could leave my door open and not fear like any crime, anything. And I said, like, that is like, for those who are like, who have that on their mind when they lay down, even when, even in my own home, that's a fear, like that's something that we carry as a burden that lives with us. But just imagine being in a space where that's not really a thing, so man, like, this is beautiful. Like, tell us more. Like, we got quite a few questions here. So I'm gonna roll out some of these questions. The first question, because of COVID, what are some of the initiatives you all have put in place to keep the resident spirits up, to keep them engaged, and to kind of keep that community life example that you all have already established? What are some of the things that you put in place?
Yeah, that's really tricky. Chris, if you want to jump in as well. We've actually been wrestling with that, right? And I think as leaders, as management, as business people, I think we have a responsibility to err towards caution, and not to sponsor events and spaces that may kind of walk that line in terms of CDC guidelines and what scientific community is suggesting. So I think what we've tried to do is allow residents to sort of organically create initiatives, and to just be supportive of that kind of behind the scenes. But again, we're not formally doing a lot in terms of the gatherings, given the situation. So
and I'll speak to that. So basically, like Ihsan said, we want people we want the residents to basically do what they feel comfortable with, because everybody in the community is at a different level of comfort with the with the pandemic. So we have a WhatsApp group, and everybody pretty much stays connected through the WhatsApp group, whether they're selling their products, whether they're discussing new job opportunities or developments in the community. And just for me, different things I did was post different things that you can do at home during quarantine, things you can do with your kids, different activities that that don't involve people that you can do. So still letting them know that though these spaces are shut down, we're still here for you, and can really provide different things for you to do if you're not doing them within our spaces. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of, like Ihsan said, not too much we can really do at the moment, because the community is small and tight knit. So if we invite one person, everyone's coming, and then that's a everyone's coming literally, and that's a safety concern. So dropping little things here and there, definitely keeps their spirits up. So that's where we are.
Is it true that you all, well, I don't know if this is one of the initiatives from the members. Is it true that you all host a Sunday dinner? Is that true?
We do. Yeah, we host a Sunday dinner outside. Encourage it to be physically distanced. We actually had a case in our community though recently, and we paused. We paused for a couple weeks, out of respect for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have been doing dinner outside, which is something that was happening sort of pre-COVID as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's amazing, man. Sunday dinner is like, when I was growing up, my mother just would not cook on Fridays, right? And then on Sunday, she would make like this big dinner. But we didn't like call the whole family, together for it. But I always knew that it was a thing in the South. So when we had moved here to Atlanta, there was like one family in particular that I can remember that always held a Sunday dinner. And we would go over the house, and like the family, they would welcome us. It was like, it just felt like, it just felt like the South, and, I heard that, that you all had a Sunday dinner. And it just, it was just like somebody said in the comments, like their mouth is just dropped. And that's like the feeling that I had. I was like, man, what? They got Sunday dinner. They got the chicken coop. They got the goats. They got the farm. Tell us about the herb garden a little bit, because that's like a sight to see when you go there. And who's like responsible for putting that together?
Yeah. So the herb garden in particular, volunteer run, community volunteers. Initially, our second year of operation, we actually hired staff to help stand up all these different things. So we had a community organizer that was on staff, that was sort of paid to help support these different things. And then we backed off, kind of tapered that down over a year ago, and have encouraged everything to be community and really volunteer led. And we'll support in terms of specifically in regards to labor, and we always support in terms of materials. But yeah, the herb garden is well utilized. Whenever I'm in town and there getting basil and mint and making fresh tea, it's incredible. One of our residents who lives in community, who has a popsicle business, utilizes the herbs from the garden in their business, for the different flavor popsicles that they have. It's definitely, I think, a pretty popular feature.
I would say it's by far our most popular feature. And so one thing about our community, when people come in, we encourage them to join a committee. So basically, we try and encourage them to at least volunteer 2 hours a month to join, to contribute to the farming garden, maybe like the block party pre-COVID, our youth program. And most people choose the farming garden. So definitely a highlight.
That's excellent. That's excellent. It's so here's a question here. It says, speaking on community volunteers, many of our community members who live in spaces that they feel that they're not vested, they have no vested interest in, they typically seek out to destroy those areas, litter, vandalism, etc. Would you say that by you setting up these initiatives that when people come in, you give them, you recommend volunteering 2 hours, that it sort of fosters that that spirit to be vested in the in Glenrose?
No, I think, I mean, that's really a powerful point, that really, speaks to, our people's unique history, right?
Yeah.
Of, we couldn't own property, we were owned property.
Mm,
And so of course you wouldn't want to take care of property.
mm,
Um, and, just in the tragedies that happen even after we were able to own things, things that we built getting destroyed. And so I think as a people, we have an interesting relationship to property and to ownership. But the human spirit wants to be in beauty, wants to be around dignified spaces,
yeah.
and wants to be respected and nurtured. And I think when there's a narrative of this is for us by us,
Yeah.
I think there's something that clicks in people, and you see it immediately.
Mm,
And it's not a hard sell. It's not a hard sell.
yeah.
People
Yeah.
buy in pretty quickly.
That's beautiful, man. It's like, Crystal said a little earlier, she said that she felt like, is this paradise? Right. And that's something that you say that
She might be in a sales role. I don't know. I'm
Always there, always.
that's
I know that that's true,
we
man.
have our issues. We certainly have our issues. There's any place, any community filled with issues, and we actively work through them.
Yeah. Hey, man. Well, look, you in a CEO role, so right. So you got the balance to it, right? No, for sure. It's the beauty about that is that that's the longing. That's what we want as a people. And that was one of the reasons I said, man, I have to get Ihsan in on this, because when we talk about New Africa, when we look at what New Africa is in concept, we look at, we say physical manifestations. So this is these buildings that we have, right? These institutions that we're establishing. We know we need our own hospitals to take care of our own people. We know we need our own restaurants to give us the best foods. We know we need our own land to grow these foods, et cetera, on and on. Our own schools, right? These are different things that we know we need to help cultivate our life. And that's exactly what you all are doing. That's exactly what and that's what the spirit wants. See, the spirit of the people, we want to be in paradise. And I think about a biblical verse, the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. So on earth, we want paradise here on earth. We don't want to have to wait to experience paradise. We want it here on earth. So when we see our neighbors next to us, we shouldn't just look at them and, just keep on going, right? That's not the spirit at Glenrose. I tell you that now. We should, when we get a new neighbor there, we should welcome them, invite them to the Sunday dinner, knock on their door with cookies.
We call it a waving culture. It doesn't matter if you know them or not, you wave, you greet.
You greet them. That's exactly right, man. And that's the spirit that I think that majority, if not all of the residents there feel. Anyone who visits Glenrose, you all would get that same thing. Do you all allow for tours if people are just interested, even if you're booked to capacity? Do you all still have something set up where people can at least come and experience Glenrose to a certain extent?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always welcome everybody to come in and tour the community. So even if you want to come and check out the farm and the garden or the soul space, we recently got rid of our model because we're getting so full. So we wouldn't have the model to show, but we're definitely open to welcoming people to kind of, just walk around, see what it's like, feel the breeze on their skin, play with the goats, look at Glenn. So absolutely. So yeah, and then even when I like reaching out to people in the community, I keep a stamp inside of my email signature to like book tea with me, come have tea with me, come, hang out in the community. Let's talk about, what you're up to. Let's talk about what we're up to. So absolutely keep it open, bring your mask, but definitely open.
And always there's people, there's going to be transiency. There's people moving in, people coming. So we're full, but, we have a wait list, and we actively want to make sure that we're, just still getting mission aligned financially responsible people to come and join the community.
For sure, for sure, for sure.
Our thought is that we don't want you to move out of Glenrose unless, you know, you're buying like a super big house. Like other than that, you're staying here at Glenrose unless you're like, you know, upgrading to a mansion. So,
Right. Exactly, exactly. So that actually is a good segue to this next question, because I know that you're booked to capacity, but I heard you mention a little earlier that you all were looking to acquire the units adjacent to where you are. Someone has a question here that says, how hard do you think it would be to duplicate this type of community in other areas? What would a group or individual need to do to try to duplicate this type of community? So that's the question, but I know that you're getting ready to duplicate it anyway. So I guess you could talk about the expansion project, but then also keep in mind those of us who may not know anything about, you know, real estate in general. So what advice would you give? What should we be learning about, reading about? You know, is there any programs we should know about? Et
cetera? Great question. I think the hardest part of this process was probably more of the technicals around the real estate. And so I had at that time a 12-year career of being a real estate investor. I think I had probably at that time purchased over 1,800 units. And so that I wasn't dealing with that. I wasn't dealing with learning that, with getting over that learning curve. But I think you know, as to that, I sought out mentors. I didn't necessarily have a lot that were in multifamily, but I found great books. ABC's of Real Estate Investing is one that I always recommend to people. And just getting over that learning curve in terms of the technicals of just real estate investing. And then I think once you're in that position, you know, if it's in your heart, if that's your spirit to do something for your community, that's just going to manifest, right? Like if you have the ability to. So I don't think that's really the hard part. I think a lot of our people have the spirit to do the same exact thing and more, and it'll have some of the unique flavor of their own personality. But we're just not necessarily in positions of power to be able to do so. I think that's the difference. I don't know many multifamily owners of color, even in communities that are entirely people of color. So, you know, and I think even though I know some well-intentioned guys, they still just don't connect in the same way. They weren't raised in communities like this, and they just don't have the same sort of affinity for it or understanding. And so I think as we get into positions of power, then our sensitivities just get expressed. And this is just what it looks like. That's not really the hard part.
It's that's something there, man. That's it's something that I know many of us want to see, right? And it's interesting because I had this experience one time where it was early in We Buy Black. There was a sister that I was helping personally hit her goal so that she could pay her rent. I was helping her promote her products on the site so that she could actually make enough just to pay her rent. And, you know, we did a promotion for her. We blew it out of the water. You know, she sent us a very long email thanking us like, man, look, you don't understand what this means. You know, I was going through a very difficult time. I'm able to pay my rent, et cetera, et cetera. Then I finally thought, I said, well, let me ask you, where you staying at? So you know where this is going, right? So she tells me the apartment, you know, a complex and unit, et cetera. I did a little quick search, learned about, you know, the owners of it and everything like that. And I was like, wow, like, you know, we just worked as a community to help you stay where you are. But as soon as you got those dollars, it went to a whole nother community. And I'm like,
that's a powerful point. That's a powerful point.
The story of our community. When we talk about the dollar only circulates in our community for 6 hours, what does that look like? How does that happen? You know, if a family is sort of living paycheck to paycheck, they may be able to save quite a few, you know, just a few $100s. But the largest expense is their rent. There's $1,100, $1,200 in rent, maybe $300-$400 in groceries, which is the second largest expense. But as soon as they get that paycheck, they're taking those dollars, and then that's why it's leaving the community. However, the residents at Glenrose, they get their paycheck, and they have to put up, I don't know, whatever it costs there. You know, that amount is staying within the community. What does that mean? What does that mean?
I mean, look, that's such a powerful point. I mean, to think that a third of the average household's budget is
Yeah.
going into housing, right? And that is just overwhelmingly
Yeah.
leaving our community. You know,
Yeah.
there's no chance for that to be reinvested.
Yep.
It's a tremendous loss. And I think Glenrose is a little microcosm. It's a good case study to see, okay, what happens if there is alignment, right? What happens if there's alignment between like the residents, if they're tenants, the renters, and the ownership? What does that look like, right? And it looks like a commitment to reinvest in the people that are there because you love them, right? Because they are you. There's no difference.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
So, and that just manifests differently in a lot of nuanced ways. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of things that we're doing. You know, I mean, just able to be there to be helpful for people if they're in crises. You know, a lot of stuff that we don't even want to necessarily, you know, get into, but just the hearts are connected, right? We're there in proximity, and yeah, it looks a certain way, and I think it has a powerful result. I think it has a powerful result. So we definitely need to align ourselves in that way.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
And I always want to encourage ownership. As Crystal said, it may not be the big mansion, but home ownership is super important. It's tremendously powerful. Yeah, I'm just a tremendous advocate for that. I mean, and part of our 3 pillars is financial literacy. Right. One of the first things we did is we hired a brother who's a financial coach here in Atlanta to come and do a series of workshops for the community. Right. Part of the hope being that people would put themselves in a position to become homeowners, to invest in property, and you know, so we're you know, total abundance mindset there. Yeah.
So would you consider Glenrose more of a springboard to home ownership?
Yeah. Again, our dream though is to turn it into a homeowner community because it once was. It once was a cooperative.
Okay.
So we want to figure out what's the best structure. If it's a cooperative, that has to be properly structured so it avoids some of the pitfalls that happened before. Or if it is just converting into individual townhomes, we want to convert it into individually owned community, individually owned units, individually owned townhomes. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So the schools around the area, I know a lot of schools. So someone had a question around the schools. So they said, what is the performance levels of the K to 12 schools in the area? Do you partner with them? If so, what does that partnership look like?
Yeah. That is an area that we hope to grow into.
Okay.
The schools are in crisis.
Okay.
It's we have had resident-led town hall meetings with parents that are sending their kids to the same school to see how collaboration could occur. We have invited school leaders to just come to tour the community to get to know us, as well as other sort of municipal leaders. And we certainly, you know, we have a vision of really adopting the schools in our area and you know, and figuring out how to help them along their way. It's a big challenge. It's a big issue, but it's a tremendous part of our residents' lives. I mean, if we can, you know, I think what we've solved for in part is creating a nurturing, affirming space for people to call home.
Yeah.
But you think about the kids, and those kids now, you know, they're not coming home to anything. You know, goodness is normalized. If you're doing something crazy, you're going to stand out, right? If you're bullying, selling, you know, if you're doing something you're supposed to do, you're going to stand out at Glenrose, right? So goodness is normalized, right? So they're not dealing with that. But when they go to school, I don't know what they're dealing with. You know, I mean, and for what I do know, it's not good. And so we have to be able to, in order to really, you know, transform lives, we've got to be able to have an impact on that space. And that's something I'm really, really passionate about. But it's you know, it's in the pipeline.
Yeah. I know you were saying to be a worker, you and your family, your brother. I know you all to be workers. Someone said, was Glenrose Garden, and this may actually be a resident, says, was Glenrose Garden inspired by the teachings of Imam Wafdi Muhammad, teachings on model community life?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a member of Man Worthy Muhammad's community. I don't think I could take that out of anything that I do. Um, yeah, I've benefited from his example tremendously and his ideologies, as well as others, as well as a lot of others. You know, some white hippies that are doing some really cool communities throughout Georgia.
Okay.
I've traveled the world and visited intentional communities. So there's a lot of really beautiful examples. And I think what Imam Muhammad spoke to is something that's just very natural.
Mm.
It's very just innate in the human spirit. And I think he had a special sort of connection to the African American experience, though.
Most definitely, most definitely. Now we know there were other Black leaders who brought this concept of New Africa before Imam Muhammad had mentioned this concept of New Africa to our community. And when he did, he talked about how you had migrants from Britain who came to America, and they wanted to start a new life from Europe, wanted to start a new life for themselves. And when they got here, if they came from York, in Europe, then they came here and named it New York. If they came from Hampshire in Europe, they came here and named it New Hampshire. If they came from Jersey, right, then they came here and named it New Jersey. And we see that on and on, even in Newark, Newark. So on and on and on, we find this pattern where we find new in front of this old Europe a city. So bringing this concept of New Africa to us to say that, we are a new people. We have different sensitivities. Everything that we once had has been stripped away from us. However, we do know where we're from. But the truth is that we're here in America. We want to start a new life for ourselves with a new identity, bringing the best culture, the best educational system, the best home living, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what we see you producing and manifesting, it falls right in line with that, because we know that Glenrose is, that this is the beginning. And you're constantly studying, you're constantly reading, you're learning more of how do I make this more of a paradise for our community, more of a blueprint for our community. And many people who are listening and on this particular channel and who just know of you now, you've set off a light bulb in many people's minds to go out and to establish this. So when we think of, just for everybody who's a part of New Africa August, when we think about the New Africa and what that means, this is an example of it. This is an exact example of it. It's a yearning in our spirit, a natural desire in our spirit to want to do for ourselves. When you walk out of the building, you know that every dollar you give towards this institution is being circulated right back into our community. And that's a very beautiful thing. It relieves the community of a burden that's been on us since slavery, that we never had we never owned anything, but we were owned. So that was a perfect answer. So let me see. How hard I think I answered that one. I did answer that one. So if anyone has any more questions, definitely ask the panel.
I know one question I didn't quite fully get to, though, was this thing around duplication and expansion.
Yeah, right.
I do think it's very duplicatable. The secret sauce, I think, is I guess I kind of spoke to this, but it really is just, I think, having the spirit and just putting yourself in position, right? So I think the bulk of it is just getting ourselves into position, but I think we could do this all over the country, with people who have that spirit and who are aligned. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Does it take is it like a certain amount of liquid cash you must have to even kind of take on a major project like that? Or is there other to kind of get around it?
Yeah, I think it'll depend on the size of the project, what market you're in, right? New York is a lot different than Atlanta in terms of the price per unit. But with a good deal, those things can be pulled together, and that's part of that real estate, just the technical expertise around real estate. And people are doing real estate deals all day long. That's the thing, right? But I think people just aren't bringing the perhaps we're not doing it And so as a result, that sort of sensitivity around how to really empower people is just not present inside of the deals. People do deals all day long.
Mm. Exactly, exactly. I can imagine, having more housing units owned by our community, and what that would mean when we talk
Yeah.
about, like, going back to that dollar circulating. I think that alone will take it from 6 hours, then to 7 hours, 8, 9, 10, 11, up until it becomes 6 weeks, right? So as we started the initiative, and that we're still pushing a soulful market. We can have a grocery store. Where is that, the second largest expense in a household? We're getting from our community. Like you mentioned, you have members there that are making jams and jellies. You have your eggs there. You have people who make the spices and sauces and all of these different things, right?
I think we'll be able to do more than 6 weeks. I think we'll be able to do more than 6 weeks of that dollar rotating. I mean, it could be months, it could be years, that we're able to really do that, with the holistic community.
Most definitely. I really believe that. We look at Black Wall Street, what made that very, what made that happen was that it was insulated, right? So you had members in that community, they were not allowed to go out and spend their money everywhere else, right? That was the difference. They were not allowed to go out and spend money everywhere else, but they were allowed to spend all of their money there. So they went and worked in all of these different homes. They were cleaners, shoe shiners, etc. So they gathered funds from the outside community, but then where they had to spend their funds was in their own community. They were forced to spend their funds in their own community. So it never left out. It only just came in. So that's why they were able to have that much growth. But now we're living in a time where, no one's, people are encouraging us. They're doing more than encouraging us. But they're encouraging us to spend all of our dollars with them.
Right.
We're putting billions of dollars out there to market to our community. What would you say is necessary for us in the time of this particular sort of freedom, in order to get to this point where we are able to consciously spend our dollars?
3 words, my brother. We buy black. It's very, very, very simple. Very simple. I mean, I think to really to have a platform, have an initiative that is awakening that level of consciousness in people, right? That's just educating people around the power of your dollar, and also making it easy, right, for you to actually spend that dollar in a way that's aligned with your values, in a way that aligns with your people. That's it. We need this. We need We Buy Black. We need more initiatives like this to raise our awareness. Yeah.
Excellent, man. So we're gonna have to get with you to put together some sort of a manuscript, blueprint, something that people who are interested in duplicating a success like Glenrose can actually, go out and at least get started, right? I think that this is very inspiring for all of us. It's saying, when you went to Morehouse, what did you study?
I studied accounting.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. It has. I can only assume that has definitely helped you in the area. But you also worked on Wall Street too, right?
I did. Yep. Accounting was accounting is a language of business. Nothing less than that. It is a language in which business is communicated. And I worked in Wall Street for a couple of years at a global investment bank. Did billions of dollars of deals there. And those experiences to that kind of what I was referencing in terms of the technical expertise, right? And I think that's the real learning curve for our community. Those experiences, allow me to surmount that get that technical expertise to get the power to be in position to then express the sensitivities, right? To express my own background. But if you can't fight through that, you never get to the table.
Exactly. That's right, man. So I would say, in closing, because I want to respect your time.
Tremendous, just to connect the dots there, tremendous advocate of formal education, of great academic institutions, of great professional experience, of training. I think that entrepreneurship, if looked at, there's a book, The Millionaire Next Door, but if you look at entrepreneurship in aggregate, it's more often done by people with experience, right? We have the soul story of kind of the young, college, dropout entrepreneur. But the bulk of the businesses in the world that are successful, I think, are done by people with deep experiences in their field, and then they turn entrepreneur. So I'm a big advocate.
Most definitely, most definitely. So, I would just say in conclusion, what are some of the things that you want to communicate to the audience here? We know that this is going to reach, a few thousand people, right? So we want them to hear from you. What are some of the things that you would like to communicate to them to keep them inspired, to keep them? What are some of the next steps? Maybe some books you want to recommend. What are some of those things that you want to communicate?
Okay. Well, I reiterate that point I just made in terms of that formal experience, really valuing that. I think sometimes we can undervalue that as a people. I think because those formal spaces have been so hard on us, honestly, right? So we just we like, look, we're going to go create it elsewhere. So I get that, but there's something in that for us. I think for some of us, not for all, but for some. And I think see, to books, a few. I mean, the autobiography of Malcolm X was a formative book for me. In terms of social consciousness. There's a book I really love called Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? Definitely a formative book in terms of just, really technical expertise and just reaching heights in the business world. Again, the ABCs of Real Estate Investing, Kim McElroy. It was a great book on multifamily investing. And perhaps I'll think of some others that perhaps you could share through your platform. Some other stuff comes.
Most definitely. Crystal, I'm so sorry. You've been quiet over there.
No worries. I am just here for support, of course, with my fearless leader. So other than that, the only thing I want to say, if you're in Atlanta, pull up, come see us, come visit. We're excited to welcome you.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you all coming on.
Ihsan,
I know you just got back from Senegal.
Haven't changed.
Oh yeah, you switched out. Well, that's what's up, man. We appreciate you coming on. I know that wasn't easy. But we needed to hear this. Like, we definitely need to hear this as a community. So thank you all. We appreciate you all. For everyone that's listening, today is August 22nd. That means we have about 9 more days in New Africa August. Every day we're giving, we have the free webinar series every single day. We've had it for the last 22 days, and we'll finish out August, with this free webinar series. So I hope that you all was able to gather a lot from here. We got Naima pulling up. I think we have a nice segment, some I don't know, what is it going to be, like some entertainment, some like a little online concert. So she's logging on for that. So we'll hold off. So everybody who's watching right now, don't leave so soon. Stick around while we go ahead on and segue into this part here. But Ihsan, Crystal, thank you all so much. We appreciate you all.
Thank you. Appreciate what you're doing. God bless your work.
Okay. All right. Y'all take care.
All right. Take care.
You on mute, Naima.
Yep. Have to unmute that. What's up, New Africa August people and We by Black family? Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you all are feeling like you're getting all the jewels that you need to actually transform your life. We have, again, as I spoke about yesterday, spoken on so many different topics that now it's about not just about talking, it's about implementing these things. So again, I'm encouraging each of you to make sure that you do some watch parties. These talks are available on newafricaaugust.com, so you can replay if you've missed anything. I was talking to a couple of people today, and they haven't been able to see any of them. So I'm like, man, you are missing out. You need to go to newafricaaugust.com, click on those links. And so they were talking about a couple of things. I was like, yep, we already talked about that. Yep, we already talked about that. Yep, we already talked about that. So alhamdulillah, so excited about that. But we want to move into the segment where we are doing our artist spotlight. Tonight we have just the infamous, the beautiful, the extremely talented 10, who came to us 2 years ago, and she was, presented on the We Buy Black stage, and literally from that experience was basically, thrust into a 10-city tour. Or is it 20-city tour, something like that. And she still hasn't even, cut an album. So there are so many things and opportunities that exist within the We Buy Black experience. And I mean, it is New Africa, like we're saying. It's, you know, it's a culmination of all of the things that we are as African American people. And of course, we know that arts and culture are kind of like indigenous in us. Like this is part of how we speak and how we live and how we sometimes communicate. And so as we are getting the screen sharing capabilities, we're gonna be showing you a highlight from Tin when she came to us a couple of years ago when she performed at the first annual We Buy Black convention. We hope that you're going to be enjoying this piece tonight. So give me a second, just need enabling sharing capabilities to be able to show this piece. So again, we want to give a shout out to our producer, Rashid, who is behind the ones and twos, but is always on task, making sure that we're ready and that we are, you know, up and running. How about that?
So this song will me in a way that I couldn't imagine, so I hope it feels you, okay? Can I speak to y'all? All right. Come on, come on, take me next. Is in you. Treat everybody like you wanna be treated. Oh, 'cause I love you. Sister, I love you. Brother, I love you. Auntie, I love you. It's time for us to come together. We need to love another. 'Cause it's time. Oh, teach me how to love. Oh, I wanna down this inside of me. You shut down the pain. Let it go. Oh, teach me.
I don't have no song. You can come back on. Here we go. Thank you so much for watching this month. We'll see you tomorrow for the New Africa August.